So, I was listening to an interview with Cory the other day. I don't remember who he was talking to, CNN, MSNBC, I don't know, I don't really care, it doesn't really matter. And he was talking about running for president. And he got on the topic of gun violence, specifically mass shooting violence, and how it's just so horrible. And of course he uses all the keywords that are put in place to evoke reaction, right? He's talking about the sheer destruction and horrific damage, and using all these descriptive terms to describe when somebody gets shot, which of course is a horrible thing, but he's trying to evoke a reaction and an emotion in the people who are listening so that they'll agree with what he says next, which is what I actually have a problem with, because let's be honest, him just saying how horrible it is and trying to get people's emotions up is what everybody on the left does, and we've heard it 100 times. They don't care about data and statistics, they just care about trying to evoke emotions in people to get what they want. But one thing he did say, well, the first thing he actually said was that the U.S. is leading the world in these horrible mass shootings. And that's just not true. I mean, I'm sorry, Buttercup, but it's not. Look, you can go to just about any research center, the Crime Prevention Research Center, they go to FBI statistics, hell, you can just Google this kind of stuff. And when you put the actual, real, factual data and statistics into any sort of research whatsoever, where you were talking about actual mass shootings, what the FBI, what our government defines as a mass shooting, okay? They do the same thing when they talk about school shootings, okay? Somebody kills themselves, commits suicide in a car, in a parking lot of a school. Well, last year, at the beginning of the year, right after the Parkland shooting, well, they considered that one of the school shootings. Well, that's not a school shooting, drive-by shootings, okay, that take place near a school or close to a school parking lot. They count that as a school shooting. Well, guess what? It's not. Okay, so when you actually feed real data into these things, okay, the U.S., when it comes to the frequency of mass shootings in this country, well, we come out to number 12 in the world. Number 12. It's not great, but it's certainly not leading the world. Okay, when you talk about the death toll from mass shootings, we come in, and depending on how you feed the data in, somewhere between number 11 and number 18. Period. That's where we are. Again, not great. Mass shootings aren't good at all. We all agree on this. But we are not leading the world in death tolls or frequency of mass shootings, period. It's just not a thing. It's not real. Sorry, Mr. Booker, Cory, Spartacus, if you will. It's just not true. But here's the funny thing. You know who actually is number one when it comes to the death toll? The death toll of mass shootings, and who I think is number 4 or 5 when it comes to the frequency of mass shootings in the world? Oh, it's your precious Norway. You know, your socialist utopia that's not really socialist, but you like to talk about how Norway is so great because they have government subsidized or provided health care, and they help pay for college and do all these things that we want to do here. They're so great. Well, maybe not so great. You want to go visit? You got a higher likelihood of getting shot there than you do here in a mass shooting, and that's just a fact. Here's the other funny thing that he said, which really just kind of blew me away. He then goes on to say that, well, in my lifetime, there's been more people that have been killed due to gun violence than from the time I was born going all the way back to the Civil War. Really? Dude, you're 50 years old, okay? Let's say that on average, and sometimes it's higher and sometimes it's lower, and yes, there was a peak in the 80s and early 90s, and we have since dipped down consistently, but let's say on average, I don't know, 9,000 to 10,000 people die per year throughout the entire 50 years of your life. Died either shooting somebody with a gun and it was justified, or gang shootings, or robberies, or cop shooting people. Let's just say on average, okay, 10,000 people a year for 50 years were murdered by a gun in some form or fashion, justified or not. That's 500,000 people. Now, just the Civil War alone, 620,000 Americans died. And then you figure, well, let's say 10,000 people a year died between the time that Booker was born in 1969 and going all the way back to the Civil War. It's just absolutely insane. And anybody with half a brain would know that what he is saying is absolute horseshit, period. He's making it up. It's all lies. Look, the internet and Google are a thing. You can look this stuff up yourself. Don't let people like this blow bullshit smoke up your ass. Learn the truth. Why would a politician want to do everything they can, including lie to the public in a presidential bid to try and take guns away? Throughout history, every single time, without failing, Venezuela is the most recent example of this. Every single time a government or a president or a king or any ruler whatsoever came in and disarmed people, it was right before that government became tyrannical and used those people. Period. Every single time. Every single example in the history of the world. And Cory Booker is here trying to do it again. Now look, I don't think we have anything to worry about from Cory Booker. I don't think he's ever going to become president, but it is him and people like him that are going to continue to tell these lies over and over and over again. And whether they actually believe it themselves and they're just idiots, or whether they're lying to you intentionally to take something away from you that gives them more control and power, either way, it's despicable and it's evil. Cory Booker is an idiot and he's a liar.